right, let's call the meeting order. Let's call the roll.
Councilmember Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Choolokian.
Here.
Councilmember Grandinetti.
Here.
Councilmember Tuma.
Here.
Chairman Walker.
Here.
All present.
Approval from the minutes of special council meeting of May 2nd and the regular council meeting of May 12th and May 27th.
Motion. Okay.
Call the roll.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Choolokian.
Yes.
Councilmember Grandinetti.
Yes.
Councilmember Tuma.
Yes.
Chairman Walker.
Yes.
5 yeas, the minutes are approved.
All right, we have a presentation from John Percy, Niagara Tourism and Convention Corporation. Their 5-year strategic plan.
Oops, as I tip this over. Good evening, Chairman Walker, fellow fellow City Council members. I moved you up to Congress. There we go. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to present to you. I had said previously that we would be before you more than once a year, but this is the annual presentation that we had a few weeks ago to our constituents here in Niagara Falls, City of North Tonawanda, and Lockport, to our constituents. There are 3 reports before you. The first is the annual report for 2013. I'm going to go through this as briefly as I can, and if there are any questions, I'm open to your comments or questions or suggestions as we move forward. And please take time, because I'm going to try to go through these quickly. We could be here an hour. There's 3 long reports. If anyone wants copies of these, we are happy to provide them tonight. We do have copies for you. In the annual report, in the first page, something that I've talked about previously is bed tax revenue from increased overnight stays has risen more than 55% since 2008. A 70% increase from 2003. I always say Maria can put a stamp of approval on that. In most destinations, when you see this kind of increase, you normally would see an increase in inventory of hotel rooms. This increase has happened with a stabilized or decrease in inventory in hotel rooms over the last 10 years. We have not had an increase, but we've been able to raise that level of bed tax revenue in spite of no inventory. On that same page, you'll see occupancy compared to 2012 and 2013, the average daily rate, and also the occupancy over the last 5 years that has risen significantly since 2009, figures that we're very proud of. Next slide is, in this annual report is the number of visitors to our website, 1,053 visitors to our website. 73% of these are unique and 72% are new. We love to see those numbers of unique and new to our website. My staff knows that our goal is to increase this by 50% over the next couple of years, hopefully 100%, and get us over a 2 million mark of people visiting the website. Online reservations, we do have our own booking engine. On this slide that you see, we had an actual number of 2,700 room nights that were booked on our website alone. We love that people book on our site. I hate to say this, but it keeps them from going to Canada. We want them to stay on the U.S. side. So when they're on our site, we want to capture them and get them to book their stay. And you see here actual room nights. Actual revenue, not to this agency, but to the coffers of our hospitality partners, over $574,000 of booked revenue, and 1,819 total reservations on the website for last year, for 2013. Last year, 1,702. This is just a number that we've been able to extract from our hospitality partners. I think this is a very conservative number, but 1,702 motor coaches visited the destination in 2013, resulting in almost 39,000 hotel room nights and a $15.3 million economic impact to the destination overall. A very impressive number. Again, I think that's a very conservative number. Looking at this number, this is what my staff books on a convention basis. The conference center has their own sales staff and has a separate number. But our staff last year, just from revenue that was realized in 2013, more was booked for upcoming years. But last year we realized 3,869 room nights from booking convention business with a $1.8 million economic impact to the destination. One of our things that we're most proud of last year in 2013 was coverage in top 100 media outlets. Michelle Blackley, that is here with me tonight, working my AV. Michelle's job is to get and earn as much free media as we can obtain. That helps our budget and gains us a lot more than we could afford in media outlets. Last year, you'll see some of the channels here with the Wall Street Journal, the Travel Channel, Fox News, Fedora's Travel, Working Mother, just to name a few in top 100 media outlets that we received coverage for Niagara Falls and the destination in 2013. Very impressed with that. This equated to reaching 115 million viewers or readers through those various media outlets. So this is a number that we always want to see rise and get larger, is the number of people that we can reach, not just through our advertising efforts, but also through the earned media and the free media that we obtain for the destination. Also in this report, in the back, is our budget, our finance, and the revenue sources that you'll see here, and the percent of overall revenue, and also the percent of expenses. I want to note that personnel expenses last year only reached 30%. I know in papers have misreported in the past, but we keep our level at 30%. Most destination marketing organizations are in the 40 to 50 percentile range because their staff is very important. Ours is too, but we try to keep our staffing as low as possible so that this number remains at 30% or below. So that we could put more money into marketing. Marketing and communications line you see here is at 51% of overall expenses. That's just direct marketing and advertising. When you add up tourism, international tourism, convention services, and convention promotion, those are also marketing efforts. So we are way over 65% in overall marketing and advertising expenses for the destination. Also listed in here is our 2013 Board of Directors. Some of those people have been moved on or their terms ended at the end of 2013, and also the committees, the Executive Committee, Finance Committee, and Nominating Committee. So again, I invite you to take time to read this. A lot of effort's been put into compiling the report, and I ask for your input and involvement as we move forward. The next plan is our 5-year strategic plan that I said a few months ago I'd come back to present. This was a collective effort of meetings one-on-one with political leaders. I know Mayor Dyster was contacted by Joe Lathrop. Joe Lathrop helped form this organization 10 years ago, did a 5-year strategic plan 5 years ago, and another one now starting in 2014 that will end at the end of 2018. This is a 5-year plan that's sort of an umbrella document for the organization. First thing in this booklet is the hotel renovation and new inventory. Happy to report there are 8 new hotels that are under renovations or planning construction over the next couple of years, and this is something we're very proud of in a destination, that is very healthy in the tourism industry to see new inventory and hotel renovations taking place. It's very important. Through our online reservation system, we've noticed that bookings are as low as 24 hours before they get here. This gives us opportunity to reach that customer through some flash marketing efforts as we move forward. But what I want to point out here is that a couple years ago, my staff was given a mission called Mission 47. We had a 53% occupancy in hotels overall for the year. That means there's a 47% vacancy throughout, different times of the year. At the time was called Mission 47, where we, as a staff, let's try to fill that 47% void in occupancy, and now the mission has now been moved to Mission 42, because last year we were at a 58% occupancy. So again, our occupancy is on the rise. Hopefully we get that down to Mission 30 and eventually hopefully Mission 0 as we move forward. Operational imperatives that are in here. There are 10 of these that are in the front of this strategic plan. Sort of the overall arching 10 operational imperatives that my staff, the board of directors, need to follow to accomplish our goals over the next 5 years. The second one here that is listed really points out our constituent groups that we really try to target. Customers being visitors that are coming, the travel trade, or meeting planners that we are trying to get them to come and put their business right in Niagara Falls. Stakeholders are the investors in governments. You are a stakeholder, and we're very appreciative of all that you do for us in collecting the bed tax and remitting that to us and entrusting us to do the job and to market this destination worldwide. The beneficiaries and partners are the community. The community benefits by more business that we drive, the more we can bring more tax dollars into the community by people staying here, eating in our restaurants, shopping in our different stores. The governments are a beneficiary. As you collect that bed tax, you do retain 20%, so with the rise of that, the governments do also benefit from that. And the visitor industry, ultimately, we want to see benefit from the overall goal of driving new business to the destination. We want to track and communicate these efforts on a continual basis, not just with you, but with our industry. And like I said earlier, we don't want to just be here once a year, but be here on a quarterly basis. We always have some representation at these meetings so that we're here to answer questions and, again, communicate the metrics that we're trying to put in place so that we're doing the proper tracking, not only for us and showing our results, but also for you and showing you the return on investment in the dollars that we do obtain. The performance indicators are in number 8 here. The destination as a whole, the economic impact of tourism, the length of stay, occupancy, bed tax, average daily rate, per person expenditures and attractions and parks attendance. These are performance indicators as the industry as a whole. We have an indirect part in it, is that we do help these numbers, but they don't remain solely with us or the organization. The next column is the performance measures per our contract with you that we have to obtain, report to you on an annual basis, which I just did in the annual report. But the number of inquiries that we generate, the media that we reach out to, the bookings that we do both on convention and group tour, and the conversion on that, and then less than 30% of our budget in overhead administration. On the administration side, we are at 18% in total administration costs for the organization. The objectives, there are 7 on the next page. Again, these are 7 objectives that we want to meet over the next 5 years. We'll go through these as quickly. Conducting research to determine our marketing strategies and track performance measures. Second, generate visitation. That's our overarching goal, I think, for all of us. Generate visitation from leisure travelers to Niagara County. Third is generate visitation from meetings and groups to Niagara County. 4 is securing resources to achieve our mission and the objectives set forth in this plan. 5 is collect and provide tourism-related data to encourage product development and infrastructure improvements. This has been there, but we're beefing this up in order to work with Seth here in the city, with Chris Shefflin at USA Niagara, with Sam Ferraro at Niagara County IDA, any other product development or economic development agencies, so that we can work hand in hand in making sure that they have the right tourism-related data to help drive their mission and get more business here to help build the product base that we can sell to the incoming visitor. 6 is build community-wide support for tourism and establish the NTCC as the go-to authority on the subject matter of tourism. And 7 is conduct a board effectiveness assessment plan. I'm just giving you the objectives. Under each one of these objectives are the strategies and how we're going to reach that objective and that goal, the responsibility of the person on the staff with a guide as to what that acronym means, and the date in which this will begin and when it will be accomplished. There are pages following, again, that I invite you to spend some time with. If I went through them all, you would be asleep, and we would be here till 9 o'clock. Marketing plan. There is a brand new 2-year marketing plan per our contractual obligation with you in the city. We are to provide you with a 2-year marketing plan. So before you is a marketing plan that is 2014 through 2015. The situation analysis is that tourism is the second largest industry in this county, generating close to $491 million in 2011. 2012, it went up to $526 million in this area, with 6.2 million domestic visitors. That's just domestic only. That number, we have not obtained the proper international research or Canadian research, but we know that this research from Longwoods International gives us just the domestic visitation at 6.2 million visitors. Also, again, going back to the increase in hotel occupancy and the number of hotel inventory remaining flat during that period, but seeing a 70% increase in hotel occupancy. Market segments, there are 22 market segments in this plan. And I invite you to spend time. There are actions. The strategic plan is sort of an umbrella document for the organization, giving us overarching goals. The marketing plan is more defined as to our marketing and advertising efforts and who we are targeting. Again, 22 market segments, with each one of them having specific actions and goals set forth in this plan, and the responsibility for each person in my staff, including myself and the board of directors. So again, I invite you to spend time with them. It is a lot to go through, but please take time. I said that. Maria said earlier, she goes, I was at your breakfast and I studied them. I said I was going to give her a test later. But there is a lot of meat in here and a lot of details as to how we go after the business and who we are targeting and how we are spending the dollars to do that. Very pleased with our website that was just introduced in March. I was back here a few months ago introducing the website. That has been up for a few months. Our numbers look very promising, growing day by day. Our search engine, or the optimization of our search engine, when people search us, has gone up significantly. We remain number one, even when you type in Niagara Falls, Canada. Very pleased. Well, we were a few weeks ago. It changes ever so often, but we have remained number one for quite some time. The collateral that we have, the new visitor guide that was totally redesigned, and also now the spring and summer in-room called Niagara Now. We even have a new radio show. We invite you to come on there. We'd love to have you as guests. We have a new radio program that Michelle is the host, that is not called Niagara Now on WLVL, and we now have our own television program called Niagara Now. So another avenues for us to work with our constituents, to talk about their programming on a local basis, and also just to talk to our elected leaders and develop that partnership, and so that we're all on the same page with the same goals and same mission as we move forward. Any questions? I know this was very brief. I could spend a lot more time. Mr. Choolokian.
I talked to you about 2 years ago. Let me tell you about, it's probably in this plan here, but I just figured I'd ask you maybe touch base at it. Most of the negatives that I got, bulk of the calls are about to your group, is how it's more secluded and more isolated downtown area. I think I talked to you 2 years ago in your last presentation. You talked about going in more direction of branching out in the city more locally. Have we addressed that this year about branching out like to Pine Avenue, Main Street, even in the inner city, where most of our calls are like we're getting forgotten about, I guess. So I guess, does this plan address that? Do we have something in the future that we are going to touch that?
I think a lot of the products that are outside of the downtown corridor are promoted. You know, if you look at restaurants that we promote, they're promoted throughout Niagara Falls. You know, visitors are really adventurous and willing to check out more local places instead of chain restaurants. So I think it's a great opportunity for us to work with people like Fortuna's and, you know, Michael's and La Hacienda. I spoke to the owner of Michael's a while back, probably a little more over a month ago. And he and I talked about it. And, you know, he said, how much of your business is local and how much is, you know, visitor traffic? And he is so pleased with the amount of visitor traffic that he's been able to witness over the last few years and the rise in that visitor traffic to his restaurant. So to answer your question, you know, you can't put you know, a wall up just for downtown. A visitor doesn't see that wall. And so we have to take the products that are there that are visitor friendly and visitor ready. Not everyone is visitor ready and visitor friendly. And we got to make sure that that product gets to that level. I spoke to the Tourism Advisory Board briefly about a month or so ago. And we talked about that, how we can work together to get the product within the city limits and all over to become more visitor friendly and visitor ready. Because again, that visitor does not see a wall between downtown and the rest of the city. They don't even know, you know, that is really downtown, you know. So I think it's important that we do the best job we can is promoting the products that are there, whether it's restaurant, shopping entities, or other attractions that are outside that downtown corridor, that they are included in the marketing and advertising. Julie Gilbert is new with us, on board a month. She's our new Director of Marketing and Communications. She's driving a whole new plan for us. This is her baby to pick up. It's everyone on the staff, but it really is her marketing plan to pick up and drive and work with all of our constituents, including myself and all the staff, to make sure everyone's included.
So if we get calls for local businesses that are new or existing,
send them to us.
send them to you? Okay.
Please, 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 please. And we need to do, we've said this, I know we talked about it, Mr. Choolokian, is just making sure that the business districts, whether it's Niagara Street or Pine Avenue, that they get us information when there's a business there. You know, we don't always know when a new business has opened up. So we really welcome and encourage those business districts and those business alliances to get us their information as quickly as possible, because it can go on our website. When our website, the traffic is driving. You and I have talked about restaurants. Mr. Tuma, you know, making sure those restaurants are included. And we're talking about other avenues that we can do that to promote the restaurants that we have and other products as well. Thank you.
Very nice presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Thank you.
I have a question too. Are
Sure.
we, John, are we getting surveys out to our tourists and our local business folks to understand or to get some feedback with regards to our product and so you can make changes along the way? Is that something that...
To the visitors or to the local businesses?
Well, to everybody. I mean, local businesses, to the visitors, to find out, you know, what kind of visit they had, and if there's some kind of rating system. And, you know, also to the hotels and the hotel owners to find out if there's something, you know, we could be doing differently on
We always try to stay connected to that, to our hospitality partners as much as possible. I think a survey we've talked about, Julie's very research-centric and very research, minded. So I think you'll be seeing a lot more in research, whether it's from the visitor, from our local constituents, our hospitality partners. The more that we can communicate with everybody, the better off we are in whatever industry. So I think it's very important. You're going to see we have a new branding initiative that you saw the governor announce last week for 8 counties. That was a CFA grant, Consolidated Funding Application grant, that we received last year. Well, really this year. I think that we applied last July but got awarded in January, and now just coming to fruition. But we are going to be doing a lot of intercept surveys and other surveys with visitors, and we see a lot more opportunity for us to gather as much data as we can, because it only makes us stronger when we're putting together these plans, where we're putting together our strategic focus for the future, and even with our local constituents. I think that's what over the last couple of years, we've gotten so busy marketing the destination outside these city limits that we have forgotten to speak to you, to speak to our county legislators, to speak to people locally, to get them to understand what we do, what we accomplish, and how we can work better together to accomplish the goals as we're moving forward. We were so busy talking to the visitors in Cleveland and Columbus, which we still need to do, but we were forgetting, as you see when I broke that down, who the customers were and the beneficiaries and the stakeholders. It's very important that we reach each one of those groups, not just the customers, that we have to reach out to everyone so everyone understands where we're moving forward.
Great,
thank you.
Who do you work with here at City Hall? I mean, is there somebody specific that you work with on the city side as far as?
I think a number of people. It's not anyone specific. I know the mayor is very active. We're very impressed to have the mayor as an active participant. When I tell my constituents around the country that our mayor is on our board and sitting on our board and comes to the committees and comes to those meetings, they're shocked. I just was at a meeting out in Turning Stone with my fellow colleagues from around the state and other CVBs and DMOs, and they're like, "Your mayor sits on your board?" I said, "Absolutely." So they were very pleased with that. And so I think having the mayor there, and he can answer questions, he sees what's happening. We work closely with Seth. Seth is very involved, I think, in what we do and understanding what we do. I think Maria in contact about the finances. So there's different people, and I invite all of you at any time to reach out. I know Mr. Tuma's done that, Mr. Walker, you and Kristen. we've all had conversations at various levels. So not anyone specific. Ryan's very helpful as your city council representative when we need something as well.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank
much,
you.
John.
Pleasure to be before you. Again, I can't thank you enough for your just support of our agency on a year-by-year basis, and we look forward to working with you. Thank you for your support of a 3-year extension of our contract. We look forward to getting that in place and moving forward with this vision over the next 3 years with you. Thank you.
Department of Public Works, 2014 street paving and repair.
Council Chairman, council members, I'm going to try to keep this one a little bit briefer than John's. Four things that we're going to cover here. Number one, the pothole killer is now completed its mission. They ended on Friday, so I really don't have numbers to give you because it just ended on Friday. They were throughout the city. This year, the holes were bigger. The holes were plentiful, and I think they did a good job in every place that they could get in. The second thing that we have is patching. We have been all over the city. We were just out in LaSalle today getting that, but we'll continue to patch every place that we can. If you hear of some place that needs patching, please let me know or let John Casel know or just call the office and tell them, and we'll certainly address it. The third thing is our zipper work. Our zipper work so far has been very successful, thanks to you allowing me to get a second crew in. We have been on Niagara Avenue, Cleveland Avenue, South Avenue, Lockport Road, North Military Road. North Military Road, we just about did a whole paving job out there with it. South Military Road, Cuga Drive, Lindbergh Avenue, Frontier Avenue, Buffalo Avenue, Whirlpool Street, Willow Avenue, Niagara Falls Boulevard, North Side, Tennessee. Councilman McCoon. We're currently on McCoon. We're currently on McCoon right now. The reason we went into Tennessee was just to give them a ride for now. And as you know, that we're going to pave that. We're on McCoon now, going all the way to College. That was a bad street, and I think so far we've done some work on there, and now we're going to finish it up. When we finish that, we're going to try to get a little section of Wyoming from what we did on Lafayette to Patricia Drive. So we'll try to do that one, and then we're going to move from there to East Fall Street, from 19th Street heading towards Hyde Park. So that's our just a brief plan of where we're going to take the zipper after this. One of the things, the zipper slowed down a little bit because if anybody's been on Lafayette, you'll see that from the railroad tracks to Hyde Park was absolutely horrendous. We have done a total of 9 digs on that road, and I had needed to take the operating engineers from the zipper crew and bring them onto that road so they could be digging. At the same time, we actually did the binder and the paving from the railroad tracks to Lewiston. So we were accomplishing 2 things. Something had to not get done in that particular period of time, and I chose to do it that way. Tomorrow we'll be putting binder on Lafayette. On that end of Lafayette, we're done digging. We've stoned it. We're ready to put binder down tomorrow on that.
Are we going behind with the sealer?
Pardon me? The ceiling we started off well, and then we just ran into these other problems, but we're definitely going to continue to do the ceiling. Okay, and on the paving, I don't know whether people know or don't know that Cliff's done, McKinley's done, Lafayette, I told you, we'll be putting the binder on that other end, and then we'll be topping it the next day. Norwood is being milled. It started to be milled today. It's about 3/4 done. The rest will be done tomorrow. We'll then go to Garrett, and we'll go from Garrett, we'll go to Crescent, and then we'll go from Crescent to James. And that'll conclude that section. DeVoe will be out of DeVoe. Then we're going to go to Tennessee, 23rd, Center, Girard, and Seneca. and we'll knock that off next. And those are the ones that we moved up. They were down on the list. We moved them up, so they'll be addressed immediately after we leave the vault. And from that point, we'll go out to the LaSalle area.
Does it include New Road?
New Road is a bid-out job.
Okay.
Engineering's handling that, so I really don't have anything to do with that. Same with Macklem.
Have you changed it to Old Road instead of New Road?
Old Road. It's called Bob Anderson's Old Road.
Thank you. It definitely needs oil change. Wow.
Listen, I drive it every day, so.
Yeah, by broom? Wow.
Wow. If you go straight down the middle of that road, it's not too bad. It's not too good either when oncoming traffic's coming, but it's not too bad. So, that should be. I'm surprised that it hasn't already been bid out. And Macklem also. All the surveying and everything has been done on Macklem, and that should be coming before you pretty soon.
Well, just so you know, Dave, the work that the crew has done hasn't gone unnoticed. I think a lot of people are talking about it in the city. They've seen a big difference. So we thank you and your crew for the job you've done. In the last month, it's been worst winter in 35 years. So kudos to you and the crew.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
But I think going forward, we have to figure out. That's why I bring up the sealing. We have to figure out what we can do to try to sustain these streets a little longer. I mean, we can't go every year repairing all our streets.
No.
So we really have to look at just what we need to do to try to sustain these streets a little longer.
Right. Well, the biggest thing, Councilman, is that we have to seal that zipper work that we do, because those are patches, right, and they go all the way around. So my concentration will be on that first, and then we'll seal all those streets that we did, especially the ones we did last year.
So we contracted the pothole killer. We had like 480 hours. Is that what we had?
480. Yes.
480.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Legislative update.
Good afternoon, Donna Owen, City Administrator. The Council had wanted an update on the progress of the recycling and reuse and refuge program that we're developing for the city. I want to give you a brief update to tell you that we have aggressively started sending out information to our businesses and to others, letting them know what the program entailed, but letting them know also that what services they would need to consider for their future of pickup. We had a couple meetings last week with some of the business leaders as well as the landlords. Councilmember Tuma, you were there at both of them, and Councilmember Anderson, you also attended. Some of the meetings there were a lot of concerns with regards to who will participate in the containerization program. Some of the concerns that came out of those meetings involved the capacity and the frequency of service. If right now there's no service going to be provided to certain business entities, those entities were notified through via mail, and we got that information based on the assessor's database, where we pulled out the business code and the property codes and looked at them as to what type of business they were for consideration to participate in the program. Some of the concerns that came out of those meetings involved the fact that some business owners and landlords felt that it was an additional tax, as opposed to a separate request for them to pick up have their service rendered privately. And so I brought that back and shared that with some of council already. That will be a concern that we need to look at. Some of the concerns were the fact that they don't put out that much. Small businesses said they didn't consider that they put out as much refuge, and they could participate in the program and willingly want to participate in the program, and anything beyond the capacity of the program, which is like a yard and a half of waste, which is 2 of those refuge carts, the smaller ones, the 64 gallons, and one of the larger ones, then they would consider how to get that capacity taken care of otherwise. So I just wanted to say that at the start of my remarks so that you would know. We've sent out over 7,000 flyers, informational flyers, to the school that will be distributed to all the students before they retire for the summer recess. We also had some of the block clubs come up and pick up documents, informational documents about the program and what can be recycled. We've worked, the staff has worked aggressively on establishing a website which will be called Niagara Falls NY Carts.gov, which will be launched on June 27th, and it will have a list of all the information regarding the program, from the schedule, your scheduled collection date for refuge, your scheduled collection date for recycling. It will have the maps on there that people can click on and see what day their neighborhood would be serviced. It will have FAQs, questions about what if my cart is stolen, all those questions will be answered on there. It will have the new ordinance on there. Once the council finishes reviewing it, the council will consider that ordinance. On the next council meeting, we will submit that to you for the 23rd of June to be reviewed. That will also be listed on there, and we will keep it current with information regarding the program. In addition to that, we have, and thanks to you all, we have been able to hire 2 solid waste education and enforcement officers that will be coming on board, and we did that based on the temporaries that we have here in the city that works for the city now, and 2 have offered to work on specifically on this program along with Mike Mills. And also we're looking for the administrative clerk that will be dealing with the database. We worked with Don Timms, the Niagara County coordinator, to come up with a database that will show where all of the city's assets are with regards to the cart. We didn't have that before. Now we will have a database that shows where everything is and who's being serviced. And so that administrative clerk will be the keeper of that information and that inventory. And as we get new people moving into the city, or if we get new participants in the program, those assets will be added into that database. There was some glitches in the database that we're finding after we did all the mailings and stuff that we're correcting as people come forward and say, my property was zoned for this, or it's this type of business. It's not that type of business. I'm finding out a lot of information that we are going to use to scrub that database to make it more accurate, to coincide with if landlords said they registered and they're not in the landlord registration. If there's a vacant business but the owner of the business lives upstairs, it's now an apartment, we need to know all that information so that we can have a clear and accurate database going forward with regards to who's participating in this program, but as well as this is cross-referencing information that I can then go back and share with the assessor, with the landlord's registration office, that they can now know what is actually there. So we right now are still working very aggressively to inform and educate the community. I know there's been I would say, change is difficult, and I know that we have hit some glitches in this program before we get it started, but we are working very aggressively to address those concerns, both from the citizens that we have received and as well as from council and our internal city employees are telling us different things that can help tweak this program so it can be successful. That's all I have at this moment. But if you have any specific questions, I can answer them at this time. I know that you had sent me some prior questions. I wanted to let you know that for the yard waste was one thing. According to the ordinance, the yard waste should be containerized, but then we also offered that you can still put your yard waste out in clear bags or bags, and they will be picked up. So we're working that out now with our hauler to talk about what that would look like with expense to the city to do that, because I think that if you start putting your yard waste in your bin, your tote, you may take up a majority of the capacity. So we're working out how to make that program effective, and we can continue along as we have in the past with rendering that type of service. You also asked about the contract, when it will commence. The council awarded the new contract back at the end of April the 28th. We asked the hauler if we could have a 90-day moratorium in that at the same level of service until we transferred over to the new program, which will be in the first week in August. And they have agreed. So until that time, what is being collected at the curb will remain being collected at the curb until we transition over to the new program the first week in August. And I did mention how we selected the different businesses and how we looked at property codes and all that and looked at capacity. If you had a greater capacity than 4 units as a landlord, then you would have to, get a private concern to pick up that waste. And for businesses, if you could not fit within the footprint of the program, which is to have our waste picked up once a week and then our recycling bi-weekly, then you would probably need a larger, need a capacity to fill that more frequent collection. You would probably have to pursue something else on your own as well. So that's where we are right now. The 27th, we're going to have a kickoff of this program. I know that it's been a difficult time trying to get everything worked out, but we are very working forward for a resolve to try to work out some of these kinks so that we can have a very successful program. Because at the end of the day, we do need to monitor how we're having our garbage and trash collected, and it could be more effective. This could be a more effective way of cleaning the city, making the city greener, and also just, controlling the vermin and all those other things. And I don't want people to lose focus on that because, that is why we're doing it. And it's not to be punitive or anything. It's really to look out for the best interests of all the citizens, businesses, and otherwise in the city of Niagara Falls.
Ms. Owens, I have a couple of questions just from constituents that I've received that I'm going to ask.
Yes.
The totes will begin to be sent out in less than 2 weeks. Still correct, right?
At the end of June. Yes.
What steps have already been taken other than the information that's being sent home from our schools to ensure that city residents know what can be recycled and what cannot be recycled?
When they start receiving those totes, there's a full comprehensive information pack that goes along with those totes. It has everything from scheduling, it has everything from what can be recycled, it has the FAQs, it has all the information of questions that you may have. Those totes, once they're delivered to your property, they are still assets of the city and they remain at that property. So all of that verbiage, all that language, all of the education is in there. And to complement that, the education and enforcement officers will be going, as well as myself, to all community groups and talking to people and informing them and reinforcing that information.
So our group can simply invite you or someone.
Absolutely,
to
and I
come
will
in
definitely
educate.
come and educate, because it's going to be a continuing process. We can't change that behavior overnight. This has been a long time. We haven't looked at our ordinance regarding refuse and garbage since 1974. Okay? So this is now bringing us current. We looked at it, the ordinance for recycling is 911, Chapter 911, and the ordinance for refuse and garbage is 924. So we haven't looked at them in many, many years. So this is a huge change, and it's going to take all of us to continually to get that message out there to recycle more and waste less.
I wanted to reiterate the defunct businesses, even if it is still a residence. The list that we got from Modern there were some things on there that were outdated, some that weren't on there, some that were on there that shouldn't have been. So if a person owns a piece of property that has a defunct business in it, then they may not have to get a larger bin. Correct?
Absolutely.
And all they need to do is to contact us.
Let us know.
Okay.
Let us know. Once we bring on that administrative clerk, the person that's going to be the keeper of the database and all that, once we bring that person on, and before we bring that person on, they can let me know, and they have been calling the office, and I've been calling and speaking to them. That's why the voice is going away. Trying to inform, but they can let me know, but then we're going to try to scrub that list to get it as current and as accurate as possible. But we need the citizens to let us know that I no longer own that's no longer active. Let us know that parcel of the status of that parcel.
One other thing is that some of the concerns that I'm experiencing, and I'm sure probably my colleagues are too from small businesses, is that what outreach was done to the small businesses before the RFP was issued. It feels like some of this happened afterwards, and we're getting a lot of questions from small businesses as to, how this happened.
Okay, yeah. While we were going through the RFP process, we could not reach out to anyone. You have to wait till you get through that process. We didn't know what the council was going to do or not do. So you cannot start talking about it. We started talking about it as soon as this, as May. We started talking about it, but we sent the letters out. I didn't get the letters out because we had to find out what was out there in the universe. We had to come up with a database, not only a database of participants, but a database of what was vacant, what wasn't, what was on NREM, what was, it was a whole bunch of information that had to be compiled before we started really getting out there and talking about it. So all of this is happening in a very short, compressed period of time, and I apologize to anybody that, I didn't get it out there timely enough, but we were pushing as quickly as we can because we sent out over 1,800 pieces of mail, and that's a lot. When you're trying to figure out what is what and what is, valid and what, trying to scrub down all that data that you have. This is the database.
Right,
this is the database over 17,000 parcels. So it was hard to just get all that information together, and we're still tweaking it and finding out what is active and what is not active.
I have just one last question. We extended our contract for 90 days, correct?
Yes.
Okay. We have a certain amount of refuse.
It's not extended for 90 days. It's actually
suspended or?
No, I don't know. The terminology, well, it is, they gave us a moratorium to continue to
Okay.
do what they're doing now until we switched to this cart program.
However, we have a maximum amount of refuse that can be picked up according to our contract in a year's time. Is that correct?
We pay by the tonnage.
So we're paying.
We pay by the ton, but we don't have a
So there isn't a
maximum.
fixed amount?
No,
So
it's
that we're
not.
not in danger of going over?
No, it's not.
And paying penalty? Okay.
No.
Okay,
No.
great. Okay. Thank you very much.
So you're saying there's not a cutoff point for the amount of refuge that Modern will pick up before they start charging us extra money?
If we, well, is Joe here? Joe,
Donna, he's right there.
Joe, can you assist me with that question?
There's no penalty. The tonnage rate that we did in our RFP, and that is the rate. What Don is referring to, until the program is in place, we are continuing to pick up the same level that we're picking up prior to the new contract. And at some point in time, when you're comfortable, we make the switch to the program the way it's supposed to be presented.
Now, once we switch to the program, there is a cap of how much refuge. Exactly. Yeah.
A specific,
Right. So
Right.
then that would mean that we would start paying after a certain amount of tonnage if we go over that certain amount.
The cap isn't pertaining to tonnage. The cap is pertaining to what's at curbside.
Okay.
So if you asked us to provide more service than what was in the RFP, then there would be an additional charge. There's no penalty, but it would be a negotiated fee for that additional service. If you so, the city instructs us to provide services over and above what was in the RFP.
Okay, because when we first started talking about this, we were told that leaves and things would be picked up if we put them in a clear bag. But now we're saying they're not going to be picked up.
So the question was posed to me, would we pick up waste outside the cart? And I said my concern was to find a way, and waste was defined as yard waste and clear bag. And I said at that time, if you instruct us to pick up that material, it's outside the scope of the RFP, it would be additional fee that was actually equipment brought on for that level of service.
Okay.
I wouldn't consider it a penalty, but negotiated fee.
But the clippings can be picked up, they're put into clear bags alongside their bins. That would be the only acceptable thing?
No, got to be in the bin.
Okay, so the clippings are in the bins, because I heard two different things. Earlier I heard they would be picked up, so that will be additional cost to us, correct?
yes, that's what we have to determine what that cost would be. But they will take them if they're in the bins. But if they're outside, anything outside of that cart will not be collected, except for the fact that it was discussed that if you had a recyclable, like a lawn chair or something like that, that could not fit into that bin, then it can be placed outside of that bin for collection.
Well, there'll be particular days for that kind of pickup as well, won't there? For bulk,
There's a bulk rubbish pickup once a month for one item.
Right.
That's still in
One
the,
item,
that's still in the, that's still in the contract.
Okay.
One item per month. But then there's still the special cleanup in the spring, and,
Okay.
there's different things that are in the contract that will pick up that other stuff.
Okay, and that will remain in place as well, so that when you're
Yes.
doing your spring cleaning or your fall cleaning, when you do those major pickups, those will still occur.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I got a couple of statements, I guess, and maybe a suggestion. And I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. I know we're all in the right direction of getting a recycle program. But I'm kind of dumbfounded where we're at right now about how the commercial and business people are not going to get their garbage picked up. As a past business owner in Niagara Falls, it's very tough to do business in Niagara Falls just because of recession, people moving out, and just the different areas of how Niagara Falls has been the last 30, 40 years. So when I found out that we weren't getting garbage picked up for the business people, it kind of stunned me. So I guess I got a couple statements. I don't think we should be there at this situation right now. We should be picking up the garbage for the business people. I got a couple suggestions. I think whatever we have to do to modify that contract with Modern to make sure that our peoples, our local businesses do get their garbage picked up, number one. I think, number two, this is a great program, but I don't think if we're not ready by August, I don't see why we can't extend more than the 90 days to get this right. There's just a couple suggestions I have.
We will be ready by August. We've been working really hard on it, and we plan to be ready by August.
You know, I was pushing for the larger garbage totes and the smaller recycling, but Council Chairman Walker says something kind of made even sense better than that. Why not both big containers to get started? 95. It's not a bad situation there either. So I guess I want to put on record to the chairman, maybe Mr. Johnson, or even with the mayor himself, I'd like to put something in there that we make a modification to that contract with Modern to pick up the garbage for the business people here. It's hard to do business here. We have a two-tier tax system that they are paying high taxes. We spend a lot of money on a lot of things I'm very conservative that I don't agree with, but this is something I think we should be spending our money on, is garbage pickup for the local businesses. I talked to the mayor today. He kind of answered some questions for me. I think we got to look at this as we can't penalize the businesses no more. If it costs us a little bit more money to get their garbage picked up, if they're allowed to have 4 totes maybe or 2, I think that's something the administration could work out with Ms. Owen's expertise. I think if we give them some containers and if they go over the bound, well, then you got to charge them. But I think we got to look at readdress the business people here. That's my statement, Mr. Chairman.
I think,
well, Charlie, a quick second. The phone calls that we received on this, because we have no communication at all about what's going on, other than we thought we're going to get totes, and it was a positive thing moving forward. However, the calls that I have received, unbelievable, and not just from the businesses, from the entire city, and we're not communicating, and I've been giving most of them to the chairman, and so is the rest of us, and I would strongly recommend that the administration sit down with our chairman and go over some of these situations that exist out there to keep them from becoming negative, because it's like it's being done in the dark, because we aren't even aware. I can't tell these people in here what's going on.
I've met with,
we've
met a couple times. The council chair and...
We've been in a few meetings,
Yes.
and like I said,
With all the things that are going on?
Yes,
With all this negativity, controversial stuff that's been going on?
yes.
some of the things that came out is not what necessarily was in the meeting.
Thank you.
Because originally we said some businesses would fit into the program.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't say all businesses would be out. So now, you know, I think we need to review all of this, you know, and this is probably good, because we're hearing people's concerns, we're hearing people's problems, and the bottom line from the city, and the bottom line for the city is we cannot afford to continue to pick up everything and anything people throw out. We just can't continue to do that. Sometimes you drive by places and you see 30, 40 bags to the curb.
Yes.
So the city cannot continue to pick that up, because that responsibility is falling on every other taxpayers. And so what we have to do, we have to look at this program and we have to redefine it. I think a lot of businesses will fit in. I think some businesses may not. But I think it's but I think it's important that we take a step back, take a good look, review what has happened, and you know, maybe for the first year or two we may have to, you know, bite the bullet. But eventually I think we'll get the program to where it's running the way it should run. Because the important things that we want is we want to make sure trash is contained in those hoppers, and we eliminate the issue of all the garbage that's all over the community and in the alleys.
Absolutely.
And the only way that happens is you got to enforce what you're talking about doing. Because if you haven't been enforcing what you've already said, you know, if you're not going to enforce this, again, we're wasting our money again.
Right.
You drive around the city, all that. Landlords have to be responsible when a tenant moves out.
Mm-hmm.
They can't throw all that stuff to the curb, and then we pick it up and pay for it being dumped. When those tenants move out, that's the landlord's responsibility. It shouldn't fall back on the city. So these are the kind of things that we have to look at and make sure we're enforcing, make sure we have it in tune. Because again, like I said, from the beginning, I thought some programs would, some businesses would fit in. Not
And
necessarily all of them.
there are some that do.
But again, we also have to look at the fact that when you look at the sizes, we got to review that. We got to review that. We're hearing what people are saying, so maybe we got to review the sizes that we're talking about as well. But I will say this thing is not written in stone. It's not written in stone. We're still discussing it. Council is still looking at things, and we want to make sure we have a program that's good for the city. We can't sit back and say we're not going to do nothing. It's time the city does get a program to help clean it up.
Mr. Owens, are you at VFW tonight for
Yes.
questions? So I'd like to put that out there. Ms. Owens is going to be at VFW on Seneca Avenue, so whoever has more questions, maybe one-on-one or whatever, she'll address the questions. I just wanna put that
I'll
out
be
there.
talking to the Hyde Park Business Association.
I'd like to
this
make one
evening.
more recommendation. I understand, because I drive the whole state and the country, I understand that some towns and villages have spent as much as 3 years to make sure that this program works. I would strongly recommend that we use that 6 months as a target date, but if we need additional time, that we allow ourselves additional time to make sure this program works. And it could be successful if it's done right and properly.
Yes.
One of the things that I've been asking a lot of questions too, different meetings and different phone calls. One of the problems is that business owners have to understand there's been no oversight for the last 30 years. So no one's been watching, and everything's been picked up. Everything. So, and the burden does go on the taxpayer. Everybody pays that price. Now, so now that we're trying to look at the ordinance, we're trying to adhere to what we need to do to make this successful. And when you're opening the books for the first time and getting the dust off things, you're opening your eyes to a lot of things that we didn't even realize. So this is quite the paradigm shift. We certainly understand the frustration on the business owner's part because obviously you've had everything picked up for quite some time. And we certainly we want to accommodate you, but we have to understand that, there are limits to that. And that's the reality of it. In Lockport, everybody has a usage fee. Residents and business owners.
Yes.
Everyone. Here, we're trying not to pass that on to the taxpayers because we realize we're overtaxed to begin with. So we've taken on that burden through casino funds to try to offset that usage fee that taxpayers will be paying each month or annually. And so, we've gone to that measure. We're making strides. And like Chairman Walker said, we're not where we want to be yet. So we're getting there, and this is a monumental task. And we certainly are looking forward to, more feedback. And I think it's important to get feedback from business owners and alike to move this forward. In fact, we need the business owners really on board to get this thing ignited to move it forward. So we need you as our partner to get this thing going so we can get information to all the residents so we can make this successful. We're at a 4% recycling rate, which is the lowest in Western New York. Not just the county, we're talking Western New York. So obviously there's a need for change, but when there's a need for change, there's a greater opportunity to move things forward. So that's the good thing. And we have a problem, we're trying to address it. And so people have told us, and we've gone to different forums, that, in LaSalle area off 56, there's a quality of life issue with rats. And there's rats off Ontario, and there's rodents, not just rats, but there's rodents all over the city. We want to try to prevent that with a tote that squirrels and rodents can't eat through. These totes on average, they last about 10 years. And after that 10 years is up, if we keep doing what we're doing, hopefully we'll get you new totes and more totes. But we want to clean up the city. We want to make sure that everybody's on board. We want to throw less tonnage and refuse into the recycling, into the landfills, and recycle more, so we can put more into the general fund, which we don't have to put on to the taxpayers. If we're recycling more, then that's a less of a burden on the taxpayers, and that helps everybody in the long run. So it's going to be something that we're going to have to work together on and cooperate with. And this is not just the administration's charge. This is everybody's charge to make this work. So I'm asking you, all of you, and today to embrace this. And yes, you're not going to like everything, especially if you have to pick up a few dollars here and there. But in the end, this is going to help our city move forward. And our city deserves a program like this.
Yes.
And we're working hard as a council, and yeah, we're fielding all the calls, and it hasn't been easy on anybody. But we're certainly willing to move this forward, and we ask you to move this forward as well.
And as you, counsel, as you get those calls, if you could forward them to me, because it's helping us establish and look at that database again and get everything together as to who needs and who needs what. It would be very helpful.
And that database is going to be very difficult unless you're walking the streets, door to door, because things have changed in this city so much, and our record keeping here has been just terrible. We
had to build this database.
So that database is going to have to be created door to door and not based upon any records we have here.
It's going to take, and it's,
So
we're learning a lot.
This program will take time
Yes.
to really bring to fruition. And so, again, like we say, we want to get the input because we want to make sure that, we're putting together a program that's going to be beneficial to all the taxpayers.
And sustainable.
So.
Something that works.
And our discussion with administration is, let's help every business owner we can assist with that fall under the parameters of this program.
Absolutely.
They deserve it, and we're going to make sure that we assist as many as we can, and that's our goal as well.
We want you to let us help you.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman,
And I want you to help me get this done. Thank you.
I got to
appreciate it.
I got to make this statement as a taxpayer, and it's nothing about what you said. I can't believe we sit here week after week and we talk about we don't want to burden the business people or the taxpayers to a full amount. We're one of the luckiest cities in the world. We received a casino here. We're getting $20 million a year since 2003. That's $200 million. We're locked into 2026, another $240 million. We have $440 million, and we're talking about penalizing the business people, or we don't want to hurt the taxpayers. I guess I'm venting as a taxpayer. We better get our priorities straight. We're lucky. There's cities that don't have no money coming in. We must be doing something wrong if we're worrying about we might have to make the taxpayers pay for a garbage bin. We're doing something wrong. All right, we got a casino here. A lot of money came in. So whatever we're doing, we're not going in the right direction. So I guess, Mr. Chairman, I'm frustrated as a taxpayer. We can't keep on talking about like pins and needles. We don't want to penalize the taxpayer, the business owners. We should be thriving. We should be talking about more services. What more free services can we give to the business people? What more free services can we give to the taxpayers? We hit the lottery when we got this casino here with the money coming in. If we didn't have the casino money right now, would we have to close up shop? So as a taxpayer, I guess we got to look in what direction and what our priorities are. Nothing against anybody. Everybody's trying hard.
I think when you look at casino dollars and you talk about, what we can do with them, we can have another meeting with our controller tell you about how many free services we're already giving out. And so we can talk about those things. The garbage pickup is a free service, will continue to be a free service, but we have to limit it. We can't allow people to just throw out all this garbage and not be responsible when they're just, because some people are just hoarders, man. They're just throwing out tons and tons of garbage.
And
so in order to get that in line, we have to have some sort of policies in place.
And I'll say to the council, I'll work closer with you, keep you informed. Anybody that wants to come to the table, we can have meetings and discussions about this so that we can make this program work. Citizens deserve it, the city deserves it, we all deserve it to work.
Again, so we say to the businesses, this program is being reviewed. Nothing's written in stone, and not all businesses are going to be cut off this program. So we'll be talking more.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, I just wanted to address something very quickly that no one else has talked about. Since we began working to institute this program, which, cognizant of what Councilman Choolokian said, had to wait for the release of the casino revenues, since we, unlike many municipalities that charge the individual residents for recycling containers, we wanted to pay for them for our residents using casino revenues. But ever since we had the ability to start moving forward with this, there's been a huge amount of work that's been done by a relatively small staff of people here at the City of Niagara Falls in order to get this program as far as it's got. As I think you've sort of heard here today, if you think about it, there's no reason why the city in the past would have maintained a database of every business in the city and what it was doing, right? We have different databases we use for economic development. We certainly, know the entities that own property so we can tax them, but it doesn't mean that we know what activities are taking place in the commercial sector in every parcel in the city. Again, why would we? There was no reason until now for us to try to figure that out, right? So it's been a huge amount of effort to simply start with the best available database, the assessor's database, and to try to start, building on that, right, in order to create the database that we know we need and that we will have at some point in the future, right? Those are constituents complaining about the cost of the So I have gotten used to now walking into people's offices and seeing stacks of papers this tall as people are sorting through, or people that are out there driving around trying to figure out, what is at this address? What do they do there? We don't really know. What is this entity, right? And so there has been a huge amount of that work, right? Dawn Tim has done a lot of it. Shirley Burnott has done a lot of it. Donna Owens has done a lot of it, right? Donna worked through the weekend, right? When I came in on Donna's lunch hour on Friday, she was sitting there with a big, huge pile of phone messages that she was collecting from anywhere they were coming in and trying to make sure that she called back every single person that had concerns raised by the letters that were sent out, right? With regard to the letters, we had to send them out eventually. We talked to council about this. We knew it wasn't perfect. We knew there was going to be a lot of screaming because we knew that the database from which the letters were generated was imperfect. We were sending out letters that didn't necessarily match what was happening at the business at the other end. But there was only one way to find out what was happening, and that was to send a letter and then get a response, right? Because we do need feedback from the business community to tell us, right? We may not know what it is that you're doing at your business or what your particular situation is regarding refuse collection or recycling. How would we know until we give you an opportunity to tell us? As the administrator said, nothing is set in stone. The ordinance is not completed. The contract details are not totally worked out. Why? Well, because we wanted to hear back from the constituents before we made final decisions about these things, knowing that this was going to be difficult, right? I was attending the CNU conference that was in town this last week. We had some great events here in Niagara Falls that we hosted. We also had the opportunity to attend some events in Buffalo, and there was a national expert there talking about some big environmental problem that cities were facing. And he was talking about how, if a problem is really big and it looks difficult and looks like it's going to take a long time, there's a tendency to delay facing the problem, right? But that's actually the exactly wrong approach, right? And what he said, if you know it's going to take a long time to address a problem, start now, because you finish sooner, right? And I think that's good advice, right? Again, we, prior to the start of this program, are absolutely dead last in recycling in Western New York, right? 4% is our recycling rate. I think we've said before, it's not just unacceptable, it's disgraceful, right? I'm a competitive guy. I know the city council chairman is a competitive guy. I played basketball with him before. I don't like Niagara Falls. Councilman Anderson also wants some recognition in that regard. Absolutely. All of our council members, I know, are very competitive on behalf of the city. So are the city staff. We don't want our city to be last. And so now that we have the funds available from the casino to address it, we're taking the steps to make certain that we get out into the vanguard with regards to recycling, as we are in a number of other areas of policy. So I ask for people's patience. We're asking people, make a good faith effort to comply. If you're finding that the way the rules are written that that's impossible for you, let us know. We're not there to harm you, as the city administrator says. We're there to help you. But you got to give us constructive feedback in order for that to happen. So again, thanks for this opportunity to address you. And I'm thinking, 6 months from now, this is going to seem a whole lot easier than it is now. And I'm hoping that a year from now, we will largely have forgotten that we ever had these discussions. That seems to be the experience in other communities that go down the same road.
All right. Anything from our colleagues? As we get ready to review the agenda, I think there's another item we wanted to remove from the table, and that's the Parks Department
Overtime?
Item.
And we have a walk-on too, don't we?
I make a motion to remove that from table, please.
Second.
Call the roll.
Councilmember Anderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Choolokian?
Yes.
Councilmember Grandinetti?
Yes.
Councilmember Tuma?
Yes.
Chairman Walker?
Yes.
5 yeas, that'll be added as number 16.
Okay, Mr. Johnson, what else you have for us?
Mr. Chairman, council members, there's a request to amend item number 5 on your agenda. This pertains to funding for the Pax Romana Festival. The request is to make clear in the council item that the funding for this event will be dispersed pursuant to a signed funding agreement to be prepared by my office.
Motion.
Second.
Call the roll.
Councilmember Anderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Choolokian?
Yes.
Councilmember Grandinetti?
Yes.
Councilmember Tuma?
Yes.
Chairman Walker?
Yes to the amendment.
5 yeas, the amendment is approved.
The next item is an addition to the agenda. This is a no-cost change order pertaining to the Amtrak protection of railroad traffic. This is a budget transfer from the city's budget to the contractor's budget with respect to the train station project.
Motion.
Second.
Call the roll.
Councilmember Anderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Choolokian?
Yes.
Councilmember Grandinetti?
Yes.
Councilmember Tuma?
Yes.
Chairman Walker?
Yes.
5 yeas, that's added as number 17.
Thank you.
All right, let's move the agenda.
Item number 1, number 2, number 3,
Mr. Chairman, with regard to number 3, there was just something that I wanted to address there. We weren't certain about the sequencing of events, like how quickly Greenway approval of consistency of this project or standing committee approval of funding might come. And so, council is being asked tonight, and now we have approvals for those other two entities, add ref to the council's action, right? The one point that I wanted to clarify is that council will recall that we've discussed here before that I did receive a letter from the chairman of the New York Power Authority, Bill Quinones, in which he said that the Power Authority, in reaction to, I think, the very popular movement here with regard to the Old Stone Chimney, was going to study and cost out the relocation of the chimney, its reassembly on the new site, and certain other amenities surrounding, including a pull-off off of the road, some limited parking areas, some limited sidewalk area, and so on. And I wanted to make clear that in asking the council to authorize the use of Greenway funds for the project, that we don't intend in any way to let the New York Power Authority off the hook, right? They're still giving consideration to that. I've talked to Power Authority representatives, and I said, okay, we're going to come in and we're going to be a partner in this. There is some limited funding, $100,000, I believe, in the Robert Moses Parkway South project to get this process started. What we're hoping is that the Power Authority is going to make an announcement that they're going to come in and then take things from wherever that $100,000 runs out, and then the city would come in and we would be third in line. Rest assured that even if the Power Authority were to do, and they haven't made the commitment yet, but we're going to work on them, but if they made the commitment to do everything in the letter that they sent to me, there would still be more than $200,000 worth of expenses that would be out there for us to cover. There's no interpretive programming, landscaping, any recreation of historic buildings and so on is not covered under the NIPA letter. So rest assured that these funds are going to go to the project, and we'll report back to council when we see what NIPA is going to do. What this does do, however, is that it gives us the $100,000 in the project now, and then this $200,000 to make certain that we've got a fail-safe, because this project is going forward. The Robert Moses Parkway South project this fall. Ground is going to be broken on that, and something's got to happen. So again, I appreciate council's overall support and just wanted to let you know that that was what the plan was for these city greenway funds.
I mean, with this project, though, I think it's important that we get a complete project because this chimney's been moved around, and we need a complete project as to a building attached to it or something. We need to, we need to really be on board with something that's going to complete this project and not just move the chimney and then 10 years down the road we still haven't done nothing else with it.
Could not agree with you more, Counselor, and I think that if we fail, Paul Gramosiak will be at the microphone every other week for the rest of the 21st century.
Already got his hand in the fact. He's waving.
We need to get it done, right? Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
Number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7, number 8, number 9, number 10, number 11, number 12, number 13, number 14, number 15, number 16, and number 17.
6:30.
Mr. Chairman, before, on number 17, I want to thank the council for, again, we try not to walk things on. This was something that was just concluded just before this meeting. By walking this on, people that are going to be doing work on the train station project are going to get a paycheck 2 weeks sooner. Thank you very much.